Today we're looking at Mars through all 12 signs and houses. If you caught last week's episode, you'll know that Mars is the planet of action, courage, and shouting before all the facts have arrived. In the birth chart, Mars shows what gets you moving. It's your drive, ambition, fighting spirit, and the part of you that actually does something about your problems. But Mars doesn't express itself the same way for everyone. First, we'll look at Mars in the signs, which shows us how that Martian energy behaves. Then we'll look at Mars in the houses, which shows us where in life that energy is most likely to swing into action. So if Mars is the actor, the sign is the character he's playing, and the house is the stage. In this case, the stage has a suspicious number of scorch marks. So let's send Mars around the Zodiac and see what happens when the solar system's loudest drill sergeant takes on all 12 roles. Mars in Aries is Mars at home, which means the planet of action has found his boots and a door that looks very kickable. This is Mars in its most direct form, bold, fast, and not especially interested in a 12-week consultation period. If you've got Mars in Aries, you may have a strong instinct to act first and work it out on the way. At its best, this is courage and the ability to crack on while everyone else is still pondering. But when it's running hot, it can become impatience, anger, or treating every obstacle like it personally insulted your ancestors.
We need action. I've already kicked the door down. Was it locked? Not anymore.
Mars in Taurus is Mars in detriment, which means the planet of action is faced with a very firm refusal to be rushed. Here, Mars has to move through the sign of patience and digging its heels in until the heels become listed buildings. If you've got Mars in Taurus, you may not be the quickest to start, but once you're moving, you can be incredibly determined. At its best, this is endurance and the ability to keep going long after everyone else has run out of steam. But the flip side can be stubbornness, or quietly simmering for 6 months before finally exploding because someone moved your mug.
We attack at once, not on an empty stomach we don't.
Mars in Gemini is Mars with 1,000 ideas and the attention span of a caffeinated squirrel. Here, the planet of action charges into the sign of curiosity and quick thinking. If you've got Mars in Gemini, you may be motivated by learning, solving problems, or simply seeing what happens if you press the red button. At its best, this is mental agility and the ability to think on your feet. But it can also become scattered energy, arguing for the sake of it, or starting so many projects that none of them survive to see Tuesday.
Focus on the mission, soldier.
Good idea. Which one?
Mars in Cancer is Mars in Fall, which means the planet of action has been handed a saucepan and some very complicated feelings. Here, Mars moves through the sign of home and emotional tides. If you've got Mars in Cancer, you may be motivated by family, belonging, and the need to protect what matters. At its best, this is fierce emotional courage and the instinct to defend the nest. But it can also become mood-driven action, indirect anger, or declaring war because someone offended your sandwich.
State your objective.
Protect the sandwich at all costs. Mars in Leo is Mars with a spotlight and absolutely no intention of sharing it. Here, the planet of action moves through the sign of confidence and self-expression. If you've got Mars in Leo, you may be motivated by recognition or the desire to leave your mark. At its best, this is bold leadership and the courage to inspire others. But it can also become stubborn pride, unnecessary drama, or treating every disagreement like the final scene of an action film.
Always make the first move. I was planning to, darling. Can everyone see me?
Mars in Virgo is Mars with a clipboard and a very sharp pencil. Here, the planet of action moves through the sign of precision and getting things done properly. If you've got Mars in Virgo, you may be motivated by improving systems or fixing what everyone else overlooked. At its best, this is disciplined effort and the ability to turn chaos into order. But it can also become perfectionism, overthinking, or spending so long sharpening the sword that the battle finishes without you.
Report for duty, soldier.
Coming, just need to iron my uniform properly first.
Mars in Libra is Mars in detriment, which means the planet of action has been asked to consider everyone else's point of view. Here, Mars moves through the sign of balance and diplomacy. If you've got Mars in Libra, you may be motivated by fairness or finding a solution everyone can live with. At its best, this is tact, charm, and the ability to resolve conflict without starting another one. But it can also become hesitation or taking so long to weigh up the options that the moment has already marched away.
Attack!
Or we could hear them out first. Mars in Scorpio is Mars at home, but this time the battle is fought with strategy instead of brute force. Here the planet of action moves through the sign of intensity and transformation. If you've got Mars in Scorpio, you may be motivated by truth and seeing things through to the bitter end. At its best, this is determination and the ability to keep going. But it can also become obsession, suspicion, or holding a grudge after everyone else has forgotten what happened.
Never give up. I wasn't planning to. Ever.
Mars in Sagittarius is Mars with a backpack and absolutely no intention of staying where it is. Here the planet of action moves through the sign of adventure and big ideas. If you've got Mars in Sagittarius, you may be motivated by exploration and chasing the next horizon. At its best, this is optimism and the courage to take a leap of faith. But it can also become recklessness or running headfirst into something because it sounded like a brilliant idea 5 minutes ago.
Stick to the plan, soldier.
Too late, I already thought of a better one.
Mars in Capricorn is exalted, which means the planet of action has found a mountain and a very sensible pair of boots. Here Mars moves through the sign of discipline and action. If you've got Mars in Capricorn, you may be motivated by goals and building something that lasts. At its best, this is stamina and the ability to keep climbing when everyone else has gone home. But it can also become workaholism, emotional shutdown, or treating life like a performance review.
Take the hill.
Why stop there?
Because that was an order.
Then the order lacked ambition.
Mars in Aquarius is Mars with a plan nobody asked for and a suspicious amount of placards. Here the planet of action moves through the sign of rebellion and doing things differently. If you've got Mars in Aquarius, you may be motivated by progress or fixing the system by taking it apart first. At its best, this is independent courage and the ability to fight for a better future. But it can also become contrariness, emotional detachment, or refusing to do something purely because someone told you to.
Do as you're told, soldier.
Well, now I don't want to.
Mars in Pisces is Mars with a dream journal and no idea where he left his boots. Here the planet of action moves through the sign of imagination and spiritual longing. If you've got Mars in Pisces, you may be motivated by inspiration or chasing something you can't quite explain. At its best, this is intuitive courage and the ability to fight for something bigger than yourself. But it can also become confusion, avoidance, or drifting into battle because someone else looked upset.
What is your mission, soldier?
I had one, but it dissolved.
The first house is identity, appearance, and the way you meet the world. With Mars here, people often make an impression before they've even opened their mouth. There may be confidence, competitiveness, or the instinct to take charge the moment something needs doing. But when it's running hot, this can become impatience, a short fuse, or charging into a situation before checking whether it actually needed charging into. At its best though, this is courage, initiative, and the willingness to lead from the front.
Lead from the front, loudly if necessary.
The second house is money, values, and what makes you feel secure. With Mars here, desire can be practical and very determined. There may be a strong drive to earn or prove your worth through what you can create. But under pressure, this can become possessiveness, spending impulsively, or treating every financial setback like a personal insult. But at its best, this is self-reliance and the courage to fight for what you value.
Secure the supplies, know what's yours, and don't sell your sword for beer.
The third house is communication, neighbours, and the everyday machinery of the mind. With Mars here, thoughts can arrive with a helmet on. There may be a sharp tongue, quick decisions, mental restlessness, or the ability to turn a simple conversation into a contact sport. But at its best, this is courage in speech, fast thinking, and the ability to say what needs saying before everyone dies of politeness.
Speak clearly, quickly, and don't wait to be asked for your opinion.
The fourth house is home, roots, and the foundations you build your life upon. With Mars here, there can be a strong instinct to protect the people you love and defend the place you call home. You may be motivated by family and security, but when that drive turns tense, it can become domestic conflict, old family arguments, or feeling like you have to fight battles that began long before you arrived. But at its best, this is loyalty, resilience, and the courage to stand up for the people who matter the most.
Protect your home and be willing to declare war over the washing up rota.
The 5th house is creativity, pleasure, romance, and the things you do because they make you feel alive. With Mars here, there can be a strong drive to express yourself and throw your whole heart into what you enjoy. There may be passion, or the need to turn fun into something with a scoreboard. But when the heat rises, this can become drama, risky choices, or taking rejection like a declaration of war. But at its best, this is bold, playful courage and the confidence to put yourself out there.
Enjoy yourself, but stop turning Monopoly into a minor feud.
The 6th house is work, health, routines, and the daily jobs that keep life from falling over. With Mars here, there can be a strong drive to be useful, productive, and physically active. You may be motivated by fixing problems, improving your habits, or getting through the list before the list gets through you. But when Mars pushes too hard, this can become stress, impatience, or treating rest like a personal weakness. But at its best, this is discipline, stamina, and the courage to show up and do what needs doing.
Do the work, and remember, lunch breaks are for wimps.
The 7th house is relationships, partnerships, and the people we meet face to face. With Mars here, other people can light the fuse and bring out your fighting spirit. There may be passion and attraction, but when Mars pushes too hard, this can become arguments, projection, or picking fights with the very people you're trying to love. But at its best, this is honesty, courage in relationships, and the willingness to face conflicts, rather than quietly rot with resentment.
Stand your ground. Just remember they're your partner, not the enemy.
The 8th house is shared intimacy, loss, and the things that change us forever. With Mars here, there can be a powerful drive to face life head-on, even when the road leads through uncomfortable territory. You may be motivated by deep emotional bonds and personal transformation. But when that drive becomes tense, this can become jealousy, power struggles, or refusing to let go. But at its best, this is resilience, emotional courage, and the strength to emerge stronger from life's toughest challenges.
Face the darkness, just don't move in and decorate it.
The 9th house is travel, higher learning, philosophy, and the search for meaning. With Mars here, there can be a strong drive to explore and discover what lies beyond the horizon. You may be motivated by adventure, education, or the need to test your beliefs through experience rather than theory. But when Mars pushes too hard, this can become reckless or dogmatic. But at its best, this is conviction and the courage to keep exploring, both the world and yourself.
Expand your horizons, then prepare to invade them.
The 10th house is career, reputation, achievement, and the legacy you leave behind. With Mars here, there can be a powerful drive to succeed and make your mark on the world. You may be motivated by ambition or the desire to earn respect through action rather than words, but it can become work consuming your whole identity, stepping on people to get ahead, or treating every Monday morning like the Battle of the Bulge. But at its best, this is leadership, determination, and the courage to shoulder responsibility when it matters most.
Lead by example. It's harder, but it works.
The 11th house is friends, groups, networks, and the future you hope to build with other people. With Mars here, there can be a strong drive to throw your energy into a shared goal. You may be motivated by friendship and community, but this can become group conflict, falling out with friends, or treating every committee meeting like a military coup. But at its best, this is collective courage, leadership among equals, and the ability to get people moving when the cause matters.
Rally the troops. Just remember they're allies, not cannon fodder.
The 12th house is solitude, dreams, and the parts of life that happen behind the curtain. With Mars here, anger may not always know where to go. It can become buried or turned inward until you're fighting battles no one else knows about. There may be private frustration or the strange ability to exhaust yourself without even looking busy. But at its best, this is quiet strength and the courage to face what's been chasing you in the dark.
Fight the hidden battle. Just make sure it's actually yours.
And that is Mars through all 12 signs and houses. So wherever Mars appears in your chart, that's where you're most likely to find the part of you that refuses to sit quietly while life happens to someone else. Next time we'll be leaving the parade ground behind and heading to the centre of the solar system as we explore the sun. Until then, act with courage, choose your battles wisely, and try not to declare war on the neighbours over the wheelie bins.